fantasy football.
Every year I set this league up and I never win.
All right, pick the draft order and get things going.
Make the call.
Don't talk to me like I'm an idiot.
This is the best day of my life!
Week 4, God bless fantasy football. Andrew Rogers back with you. Get your start-sit questions in. We've got many storylines to talk about. The London game on TV right now. It's been an all-day fantasy football affair so far, and it's just going to continue all the way to Sunday night when the Bucs and Chiefs start tossing around the pigskin. Once again, we are so happy to have you here with us on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. There are many things a man can do with his time, but none are better than this. We love having you with us on God Bless Fantasy Football. One start sit question already coming our way, and this guy's in a very good spot. Eckler, Fournette, Javonte Williams, Jamal Williams, sit 1. So 2 running back league, 1 flex. You're starting Eckler, no doubt, against Houston. I think it's time he gets into the end zone. There's no way I'm sitting Fournette either with the question marks that surround the wide receiving core in Tampa Bay. I could easily see Fournette getting into the end zone here as well. Leaves Jamal Williams and Javonte Williams. And if I'm sitting anybody, I'm going to sit Javonte Williams this week. He's playing Las Vegas. It could easily be a shootout between the 0-3 Raiders and the Russell Wilson ugly Broncos. Can I describe it that way? Because that's all I really witness every time I watch that offense get out there. Javonte's still looking for the end zone. He had numerous opportunities so far to get there this season, but if I'm starting anybody this week, it's Jamal Williams. He's my favorite running back to start this week. No DeAndre Swift. Keep that in mind. And when it comes to playing a guy like Jamal Williams, somebody that we saw eat in Green Bay and even eat last week on the field, he gets Seattle's defense, a 4-star play in most fantasy leagues. It is an easy start for me, especially because there's no Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's no DJ Chark either. So those 3 guys, I'm starting Eckler, Fournette, Jamal Williams. Let's get into some week 4 storylines. Hopefully you didn't forget about the before church game. The game in London started at 8:30. That was the Saints and Vikings. And I would recommend you have us on the computer to your left right now and eyes peeled toward the TV because it is a close one. I am monitoring it very closely. Greg Joseph just kicked a field goal, made it 28-25, and Will Lutz is about to kick a 61-yard field goal, I believe. Was there a timeout taken? I don't know. I'm gonna keep my eyes on this, and I'm gonna keep my eyes on storylines. But he made a 60-yard field goal with under 2 minutes to play, and now he's about to attempt a 61-yard field goal. Peep the Andy Dalton jersey, the starter for the New Orleans Saints today, and hopefully you woke up in time for this game because there's a big piece missing in this matchup, and it's Alvin Kamara. And if you had him in your starting lineup and you did not set an alarm, you only have yourself to blame because Latavius Murray is eating. Absolutely eating today. Okay. I got to pause here. Pause 10 seconds. Will Lutz about to kick a 61-yard field goal. Oh my gosh. This is why I love kickers. No, he missed it. Oh, it's off the bar. Vikings win. Can you believe it? Oh, man. He needed it from 60. Oh, that hit the bar. That was in. That was in too. Oh, Will Lutz, I feel for you. I kind of got a little ahead of myself there. Darn it. I would have loved to see some overtime football. But hey, I'm going to put the phone aside now, and my full focus attention is on you. Let's get into some week 4 storylines. Cleveland's defense shaken up. Take that into account against the Falcons today. No Myles Garrett. Jadeveon Clowney carries the questionable tag. Also, Bills-Ravens will be a shootout. The Ravens are this year's highest scoring offense. Vegas could be 0-4 if they lose to the Broncos. That's an AFC West divisional game. Zach Wilson is back. How about that? He got sick and tired of hanging out with his mom's best friends. So now he's finally back on the football field. Basically, every top Lion on offense is out. Already mentioned that. No Keenan Allen again. Mike Williams, a must start in fantasy formats. I also really like Josh Palmer today. No David Montgomery. That means Khalil Herbert will be a must start. To me, he's an RB2. He could even be listed as an RB1 with how often the Bears run the football. It is obnoxious how low their total passing yards are for the season, and I'll tell you that in just a few moments. Also, Green Bay's defense is the play of the week. Brian Hoyer's starting for the Patriots. This Green Bay defense is talented, very talented, and their fantasy points have been accruing week after week. It just keeps getting better for the Pack. So those are the week 4 storylines. But as we always do on Sunday, let's get right in to our quarterback rankings. Cam Broham, our producer, will be monitoring your start-sit questions. So send those into Hurrdat Sports. We can find you on Twitter. We're live on Twitter right now. We're also live on YouTube. Just put them in the comments. We'll get to those when we can. But let's get right into quarterbacks. The Raiders aren't going 0-3 or 0-4, rather. Derek Carr is getting a win this week. He is my first favorite quarterback to talk about. Despite the record, despite everything that hasn't been going right for Las Vegas, Derek Carr has still been consistent when it comes to fantasy production. He finished as a top 6 fantasy option last week. He's been averaging 18 to 20 points per week, and Vegas has thrown on 73% of their plays this season. That's the second most in the NFL. Last year's numbers were balanced against Denver. He had a really good first time out against them. Didn't have as great of a second time. Denver's defense is good, but I like Derek Carr to be throwing the ball today. Devontae Adams will be heavily involved. Hollins will be heavily involved. I believe Renfro is out today. I can double check that really fast, but also they have one of the best tight ends on that football team in Darren Waller. And I am correct. Hunter Renfro is out today. My second favorite quarterback was on my hate list a couple of weeks ago. It's Tom Brady. And it's time for the GOAT to get back in business. It's time to buy in. Evans is back. Godwin and Julio are carrying questionable tags, but the team is optimistic that they'll take the field. Of course, we'll see what happens in warmups. Somebody could tweak something. They may not play, but he's about to have all 3 of his weapons back, plus Leonard Fournette right behind him. This is a game that I see Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs forcing Tom Brady to throw the football more because the Bucs will be playing from behind. Tom has yet to throw multiple passing touchdowns or even come into the top 15 for fantasy points in the first 3 weeks. That is insane with how well we saw him play last year. Of course, there's the off-field issues with Tom, but when it comes to Kansas City, Tom's going to live up to the moment. It's a rematch of the Super Bowl, and I think Tom can pull it off to be a productive fantasy option this week. He's going to be forced to throw the football. I can't say that enough. I'll keep it simple there. He's throwing the football. That's where Tom's getting his points. My last quarterback on my list, Marcus Mariota. We've been saying his name a lot on God Bless Fantasy Football, but he's worth a streaming option in most weeks. Mariota has the injury-riddled Browns defense at home. His rushing ability makes him a more attractive quarterback than some others. I really think that buoys him to the top, averaging over 8 rushing attempts per game thus far this season, and has found the end zone twice with his legs. That's important to keep in mind because we know how Lamar Jackson can be when he runs. And I'm not saying Marcus Mariota is Lamar Jackson, but having that dual threat quarterback is important when it comes to fantasy, at least how we've seen the game of football evolve in the NFL. He's been a QB 13 through 3 weeks. Plus, Atlanta has scored the 9th most points in the league through 3 games. Equal that all together, Mariota is one of the best quarterback streamers. Those are my top 3 quarterbacks this week. Who I'm sitting? Trevor Lawrence. Why am I sitting Trevor Lawrence? I understand. He just killed the Chargers, but Philly's defense has been awesome. There's no other way to describe how well Philly has been playing. It's the Doug Peterson revenge game coming back against his former team. But Philly has the 2nd most sacks in the league with 12. They had 9 last week against the Commanders. They have 4 interceptions to add to that. Plus, they are just absolutely loaded with talent. After week 1, I wasn't high on them. After week 3, I'm back on the Philly train because they've allowed just 11.59 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. That is the 7th fewest in the NFL. Going back to Marcus Mariota really fast. Atlanta's 24th ranked passing defense has allowed the 6th most passing yards and 6th most points to opponents thus far. When you have numbers like that, Mariota is going to have to throw the ball to win this football game. So he's going to get his attempts. And that makes every receiver, tight end, running back just as juicy of a play as Mariota this week. Moving on to running backs, Jamal Williams is my favorite running back this week. No DeAndre Swift, as I already stated, and Williams leads the league in carries inside the 10-yard line. He is the second stringer on that offense, and he still leads the league in that category, especially in a standard league. That is extremely important for your points. Touchdowns are where you get your points. You don't have the opportunity to get the PPR point. You need those touchdowns. And Jamal Williams, seeing as if he gets the ball nearly every time within 10 yards, I'm starting him. He could find the end zone twice this week. Easy. No doubt. He did it last week. He had 20 carries, 87 yards against the Vikings. He could do it again this week against the Seahawks. Also, another name that you're like, man, I should have grabbed him on Waiver Wire Wednesday when I listened to God Bless Fantasy Football with Andrew and Sasha. Speaking of Sasha, could not be with us today. She is producing another podcast. She does everything. So while she stays busy on that front, I'm here to provide and kind of play both parts. I'm really carrying the team today. You know, I may need some ice after this. And Sasha may have to stop by and give me some ice because I'm going to be sore after carrying the team. No, I'm just kidding. Sasha's great. Sometimes her picks, though, not so much. But Khalil Herbert, let's get into that. No David Montgomery. Khalil Herbert is just that running back when Montgomery's in, has a hard time getting the production that the hype coming into the season carried with him. But right now, when David Montgomery's out, this dude eats. He just eats. I watch the Bears every Sunday. And as I said, they are a run-first team. Khalil Herbert is a must-start. I think it's a PPR league. I'm in like 5 leagues, so I'm trying to get like back there. But I think it's a PPR league. He's projected like 18 or 19 points, which is more than my 2 top running backs in that league. Nick Chubb is one of them. Can you believe that? That is insane to me that Khalil Herbert is projected more. It's because the people that put together those projections know the Bears are going to be running the ball. The majority of this game against the Giants, you're going to see Saquon eat. You're going to see Khalil Herbert eat. The Bears have tallied just 297 yards through the air in 3 games. What? Most quarterbacks have thrown for 297 yards in 1 game. And the Bears haven't even done that, haven't gone over 300 in 3 games. That's insanity to me. FanDuel put out a tweet 2 days ago. They have the over-under on Justin Fields' passing yards for this game at like 148.5. And maybe it may even be lower, maybe like 128.5. I don't remember exactly the spot, but that is the lowest since FanDuel became a mobile sports since FanDuel became a sports book. The lowest a quarterback has been given on an NFL Sunday. That's crazy. But it also shows that Khalil Herbert is going to get the ball 20, 25 times in this game. There's no doubt in my mind. If the Bears are moving the football, he may touch it 30 times in this game. In week 3, he compiled 30-plus fantasy points. He played 61% of the snaps, and he touched the ball 20 times for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's also a game that David Montgomery started. I know he got hurt in the first quarter, but he still took away touches from Khalil Herbert. If Herbert would have played all game, he may have gotten 200 rushing yards and an extra 5 more carries. That is a enticing stat line for me to say, yes, my flex play this week, Khalil Herbert. That's all I'm saying. They are run heavy. Dameon Pierce is another guy I like. It's weird. My lists of running back rankings this week are most guys outside of the top 15, top 20 even on a normal week. Maybe even top 30 with how I'm starting Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert. Dameon Pierce, another guy that played 61% of the snaps with 20 carries in week 3. He had 100 total yards and a score that was good for 18 fantasy points. He's established himself in that Houston offense now. It was a little bit of a tag team effort with him and Rex Burkhead early on. But on the goal line, that's where he finds his rhythm. And Houston is using him on the goal line, which is insane to me because normally when I see a rookie running back that's, he's got good size, but when they're trying to finally, get his feet wet a little bit more in different situations, they go to the veteran. They go to Rex Burkhead, right? Not anymore. It's been Dameon Pierce. They've loved him on the goal line. We love TDs on God Bless Fantasy Football. Say it with me. We love TDs. If you say it fast, it sounds like something else. But we do. We love TDs on God Bless Fantasy Football. And the Chargers have allowed the 6th most fantasy points per game to running backs. Plus, James Robinson dusted that defense last week. James Robinson, awesome this year. He's been fantastic. But Dameon Pierce can do it too. If James Robinson can do it, so can Pierce. Honorable mention to this list, Breece Hall. And I'm bringing him up because we're finally seeing more out of the second round pick, the rookie, opposed to Michael Carter. Beat reports coming into week 1 said Michael Carter's our guy, this, that, and the other. But now we're starting to see more Breece Hall. We're chomping at the bits a little bit because we've been wanting Breece Hall to get more involved, and he finally is. He played 51% of the snaps in week 3. He had 8 rushes, not as many as Carter, but he had a team high 11 catches. That's what I like to see the most, especially in PPR formats. I'm starting Breece Hall this week. He's much more valuable for that reason. Plus, the Steelers have allowed 25.8 fantasy points per game to running backs so far this season. That is the 9th most in the NFL. That's it. That's all you need to know. If you're playing in PPR, start Breece Hall this week. We don't know the relationship between him and Zach Wilson all that much because in preseason was the last time we saw Zach Wilson play football. But now that Joe Flacco will most likely take a back seat, Zach Wilson cleared to play. I don't really know who's going to start. I would assume it's Zach Wilson, but maybe it's Flacco. Who knows what they're going to do over in New York. That means Breece Hall could get a lot of catches out of the backfield, but also start that development, develop that chemistry with Zach Wilson when he plays. Somebody I'm sitting this week, J.K. Dobbins. I just don't think it's time to release the Hound. I really don't, especially against the Bills. I know fantasy managers are eagerly waiting for him to blow up, but now is not the week. He ended up playing 44% of the snaps in week 3, 7 for 23, caught 2 for 17. Not a stat line that's overly intriguing. The Bills have allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points per game to running backs at 14.1. J.K. Dobbins, it's just not his week. It will be a shootout. Don't get me wrong. It absolutely will be a shootout. I just do not like the matchup for J.K. Dobbins this week. Get your start sit questions in on Hurrdat Sports. We've got one, Cam.
Yeah, we'll do a couple quick rundowns here. Sam the Van. Love the name.
Sam the Van.
Sam the Van. He says Deontay, Aaron Jones, or Lockett at flex.
Deontay, Aaron Jones, or Lockett. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to struggle to throw the football today. He always struggles against the Patriots. Not Lockett. Deontay's interesting because he'll always get his targets too. So it would be between him and Aaron Jones. If it's a PPR league, I'm starting Deontay Johnson. If it's a standard league or maybe a half-point PPR, I'd probably start Aaron Jones just because of the workload we've been seeing him get, especially in the red zone. I thought it was going to be more of an A.J. Dillon situation this year, but it hasn't. Aaron Jones is still proven to be the guy. I know the Patriots can stop Aaron Rodgers, but if they're stopping him, they have to stop Aaron Jones too. I'd probably play Aaron Jones in that situation, but I would play Deontay Johnson. I know Mitch Trubisky is nothing to brag about, but Sauce Gardner most likely on Deontay. I like Deontay more than the Rook. I'd go him in a PPR format. Next,
also from Sam the Van.
All right.
Starting the 49ers D versus the Rams
Love it.
or New York Giants versus the Bears.
No, I love the 49ers this week. I love it. I think they're going to win this week. I think the under's hitting this week. It's going to be a low-scoring game, and the only reason for that is because of the 49ers defense. That good?
That's great. And also, Sam digs your energy.
All right, Sam.
Keep rocking.
Sam, thanks so much for tuning into the show. We love to have you here, and keep sending in those start sick questions because I love to help you out, and we're winning this week. Sam, you're winning this week. I can't say it enough. I really do love the 49ers defense. If you guys tune in to another podcast I host, Big Plays, Bad Days, and Parlays, I've been high on the 49ers since Wednesday. I think Matt Stafford is in for a treat against that defense. I think we're in for a treat watching that. Maybe Matt Stafford's more, entering hell watching that 49ers defense stand up in front of him. It's going to be a fun matchup, but low scoring means best defense. I'm going there. Plus the Bears, they could surprise us. They surprised us against the 49ers. However, that was a monsoon, so you can't really take that into account. The Giants front is really good, but if Khalil Herbert runs all over them like I think he will, I would much rather play the better defense against the better football team. I'm taking the 49ers. Okay, I got a little off track there, but I'm going to reel it back in. Wide receiver rankings. Let's go. Gabe Davis. Another guy on that podcast, Big Plays, Bad Days, and Parlays, thinks Davis is scoring the first touchdown this week. Well, that's enough for me. I'm sold. Put him in a parlay. Put him in my starting lineup. Why not? After scoring the first touchdown of the NFL season and absolutely exploding in week 1, Davis just hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been able to stay on the field consistently. Despite the struggles, he still led the Bills in air yards per target and showed that he remained their downfield threat in week 3. Plus, like I said, if my guy Troy thinks he's finding the end zone, throw him in your lineup. Easy 6 points right there. The Ravens have allowed the most fantasy points per game to wide receivers too this season. That's 56.1 per game. What? That is unreal. That over, too, is the only over in the NFL for week 4 that hits over 50. They're thinking over under like 54. Maybe it was 52. But if it's going to be a shootout like that, Gabe Davis will get his targets. I love Gabe Davis this week. Who doesn't love a Bills wide receiver when Josh Allen's throwing you the ball? Devontae Smith is my second favorite. After not touching the pigskin in week 1, Smith has been red hot. Woo! Spicy. Week 3, he was the top fantasy scoring wide receiver. Plus, the Eagles are so fun to watch in all facets of the game. Jalen Hurts is incredible. I don't think anybody really predicted he'd have as good of a season as he's having right now. I'd put money on him to be the MVP. I really would. 31 fantasy points last week, 8 for 169 and a touchdown. That was on 12 targets as well. And even though Hurts likes to run, he'll also hurt you through the air. Like that, Cam? Come on. Give me a dad joke clap for that. A.J. Brown is a must start every week, but Smith is getting to a point where he's right up in that category. My last one, Drake London. In spite of having a pass catcher like Pitts, London is now the Big Ben of the receiving group. I'm in it right now with the dad jokes. I really am. I'm all for him. Through 3 games, he's commanded 25 targets, and he now meets a dwindling Browns defense that's allowed the 7th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. Somebody I don't like, Allen Robinson. Don't start him this week. He's a 2-star play in fantasy. He used to play for the Bears, and guess what I read on NFL.com this week? So far this season, his target share, air yard share, catch rate, air yards per target, yards per route, route depth, and percentage of routes on which he's been targeted have all been 4-year lows. 4-year lows. And he used to play for the Bears. You have Matt Stafford now. This is a huge upgrade at quarterback. Avoid Allen Robinson this week. Avoid him. From the tight end category, TJ Hawkinson. Everybody is out for the Lions. He's the only guy that Jared Goff can dump the ball off to right now. Tyler Higbee has scored between 8.9 and 14.1 fantasy points every game so far this season. His 24 targets on the season is tied for 3rd most among tight ends. As much as I hate Higbee, you got to just play him. I put him in my DFS lineup last week, and I wasn't sorry. He still gets his targets. He gets his catches. He may not catch a touchdown, but he'll get 6 balls for 54 yards. And in most weeks, that's productive for a fantasy tight end. David Njoku's another interesting one. Since coming into the league in 2017, he hasn't had a better season than 637-4. But last week he was 1089-1. It seems like Jacoby Brissett leans on him a lot. He ran 26 routes and was targeted on 38% of them. Falcons have allowed the second most fantasy points per game to tight ends. I like Njoku. Zach Ertz? No Zach Ertz. He's facing Carolina that's given up just 26 receiving yards per game to opposing tight ends. The Cards throw a lot. That's 100% true. And Ertz will get his targets. But I think the Cardinals actually lead in this game for once. And they might not have to rely on Zach Ertz to get those garbage time catches in order to try to fight back into the football game. Lastly, let's get into defense, and then if we have some extra start-sit questions before the noon hour approaches. Green Bay. I said it once, I'll say it again. Brian Hoyer, that's it. I shouldn't even have to give you any other examples why Green Bay should be your start this week, but I will. The Pats have allowed the fourth most fantasy points to defenses this year. The Packers have an uber-talented defense and have scored at least 9 fantasy points in each of their last 2 games. And like I said, it gets better every week. You're going up the stairs, right? My hate, Buffalo. I also hate the Ravens, only because it's a shootout, right? You don't want them. You don't want it if it's going to be a shootout. That means your defense will probably get no points. Stay away. The Ravens are currently allowing just 1.33 fantasy points per game to opposing defenses as well. No, I'm off the Bills. No, thank you. I can't do it. I won't do it. I'm starting Green Bay if I can in DFS lineups, and I'm going up this list, guys. Really, I love everybody I threw out there. I really love the matchups this week. I have a lot of different touchdown bets out as well, and you can follow those on Hurrdat Sports. I need to get back. We got to get back in the green, and hopefully my work on fantasy and my work on betting can kind of fuse together for a great week 4. Cam, any other start-sit questions?
Yep, got a couple here. Flex, Edwards-Helaire, Singletary, Lockett, or Claypool. Who do you start?
Edwards-Helaire, Singletary, Lockett, Claypool. Give me Clyde this week. I want to start Clyde. Not really a fan of the other 3.
Okay. From M. Dave, need 1 wide receiver and 2 flex PPR. DJ Moore, Juju, Bateman, Ayuk, Henderson, Breece Hall, Kirk, Romeo, Dobbs. Thanks.
Sheesh. All right, hold on. Okay, let's break this down really fast. All right, so 2 wide receivers or 1?
1 wide receiver.
Okay.
2 flex PPR.
Okay, 2 flex. All right, let's do it again. Give me the names.
DJ Moore.
Okay.
Juju.
Okay.
Bateman.
Oh, I love Bateman.
Ayuk.
Okay.
Henderson.
Darrell. Okay.
Yep. Breece Hall.
I love Hall. Start Hall.
Kirk.
Christian. Yep.
Romeo. Dobbs.
No Dobbs. Okay, I am starting Breece Hall in one of my flex. I will start Christian Kirk at the wide receiver position or the flex. You pick and choose there. And it's between Bateman and Moore for me. So Carolina, they get the Cardinals. The Cardinals are so bad against the wide receiver, but Bateman's in that shootout. That one's more of a toss-up for me. Since it's PPR, I'm leaning DJ Moore here. Only because that Bills defense is incredible, but DJ Moore, I hate Baker Mayfield. You know what? I'm going to switch that. I'm going to go Rashad Bateman just because it's the shootout. And Bateman has just the better quarterback, and I'd rather have him. So DJ Moore, I just followed along with his stats a little bit too, and he hasn't gotten more than 43 yards this year. That's just disgusting. So I like Bateman, Breece Hall, Christian Kirk. That it?
Boom, that's it.
That's it. It's noon. Hopefully we helped you out for your fantasy football week in week 4. Remember, there are many things a man can do with his time, but none are better than this. God bless you, and God bless fantasy football.